Hey, good day friends, it's Chris, and for this video, let's fill up this plastic palette with temporary colors for something new to spice up my watercolor game. So I'm trying to focus on pigments that I barely use or pigments that I am not used to using altogether. So the first color that I'll be picking up is from this palette, and if you could see a sad tale of that Naples yellow deep falling into the other pan, yeah, that's just sad. But anyway, I just scooped out a bit of this buff titanium from my White Nights palette. I barely use this color and I just want to get to know this color more. Aside from painting sandy beaches and some base for skin tones, I don't know how to make use of this amazing, beautiful, milky brown color. And I know that describing it as milky brown is not the most beautiful way to describe something, but it works. It's actually very useful. The next color that I picked up is this Yellow Ochre from Mijello Mission Gold, and at the same time I combined it with a tube paint from Daniel Smith. I think it's also made of PY42 and it's called in the Daniel Smith tube Raw Sienna Light. So it's a beautiful earthy yellow that can lean either a nice unique primary yellow or an earthier tone for lighter brown animals or tree barks or even beautiful fields of straws or rice. Next color that I'm picking is this beautiful, gorgeous, stunning phthalo green. Now in the Mijello Mission Gold line, this is called Viridian, but it is not made of the actual Viridian pigment. It's just a strong electric green, if you can describe it that. And something unique about this actually that I just noticed upon swatching it is that when you dilute this color, more of the cyanic blue color comes through, but when you have it in mass tone, it's more of the more neutral green. So take that as you will, and let's move on to the next color, which is one of my absolute favorite colors, but I don't know how to use it, guys. This is Ultramarine Violet made of PV15. This is a heavily granulating, purpley, cotton candy-like purple or violet. I don't know the difference between the two, but as you can see, when you let it just move on its own or when you just move it around wet washes, it granulates to beautiful patterns and texture. This next color is something that at first I didn't like, but then I started to love, and it's Bright Opera. Now, if you plan to use this color, it's best that you just keep it in the tube, and when you need it, that's the only time that you squeeze it out. I don't recommend pouring this paint into pans because sometimes it loses its vibrancy. So if you plan to paint using this color, just use it straight out of the tube and then just keep the rest for mixing. Now this is, I labeled this one as a asphalt brown, but it's actually called transparent brown asphalt from Sennelier, which is a combination of two common pigments, if you will. This reminds me so much of the umber from the Mijello Mission Gold range, the one that's made of the same pigments, I believe. but this one just shows beautiful textures, and I'm so excited to actually mix this color with the other brighter colors and see how it neutralizes them. The last color that I'm adding to this palette is yes, it's a turquoise color, and this one is light cobalt turquoise or cobalt turquoise light from Winsor & Newton Professional, made of PG50, and we all know of the properties of PG50. It's just very textural and it's granulating and it's beautiful to use wet on wet, and the different mixes that you can come up with using this pigment is absolutely going to be texture city. Like, you could see color splits later on when we mix it with some of the colors that we have in our palette. This is a strong color. It may not show when you mix it, but once you let the mixture dry, the color blue actually just blooms and showcases through it through granulation. So these are the colors that we'll be using. Very unique. You have maybe 3 earthy and 4 colorful ones, and we all know that the primary triad is composed of a cyan, a yellow, and a magenta, or a red, yellow, and blue, and it makes such standard mixes, as you could see here in this chart that I used. But for this palette, we have here now 3 of the quasi primary colors in the cobalt blue and in the light raw sienna and the opera. And if you could see, the mixes that can be created are absolutely fluffy, cotton candy-esque pastel, almost pastel colors, and I absolutely adore the different mixtures that you have, especially that green. And later on, in a few seconds, you'll see an amazing bright purple that can be mixed using the cobalt and the opera rose that you have here. And it's not the most common triad, but then I'm absolutely so excited to use these colors in a painting process. Now, to understand more about this palette, I actually did a few mixes on a scrap paper, and now I'm showing you some of the mixes that interested me the most. And first off is this mixture of the Viridian and the Ultramarine Violet, and you can come up with such interesting, almost indigo, almost Prussian blue-like color when you mix the two together. But then when the Ultramarine Violet granulates, it becomes a field mine of beautiful textures, and it's just so fun to use and paint different insects and different animals, or maybe even surreal galaxies. That would be so interesting using this mixture. The next combination that I'm showing is not really the most exciting, but a video from Kimberly Crick Art actually inspired this one, which is a mixture of buff titanium and a pink color. I think she was trying to replicate a shade from the Isaro line, and this one is maybe a copycat of it, if you will, and it is now combining the opera with the buff titanium. I believe that the Isaro paint that she's trying to replicate in that video was powder pink, and I also want to try my hand on the powder pink color. And yeah, it's not exactly the same pigment that she used or that Isaro used, but mixing together this opera with the buff titanium is absolutely fun, and you will be able to see now how bright and how much the opera punches through. But once it dries, it leaves sort of a diluted powdery pink color, and I'm interested to see it with different birds and with different illustrations. Maybe with if I decide to be more expressive with people portraits, I could use this combination as a baseline for skins, and I think I used that a while ago in the painting demonstration using this palette. The last combination that I want to showcase to you is this cobalt blue turquoise and this transparent asphalt brown, and as you can see, it looks like a brown sanded beach, just mixing the two, and it's absolutely fun. Now these are the different colors that you could come up with using the palette that I have, and there's probably a lot more that I'm yet to discover, mixing 3 of the pigments or touching one of the mixture to the other. But let's try it out in this portrait drawing. The reference photo for this drawing is from Pinterest, and it inspired me to paint this portrait because it has that nice pink backlit effect or filter. I don't know what you call that, but the lighting is just so interesting to me, and so I decided to not really copy it as a finished piece, but maybe just a sketch warm-up just to get myself familiar with this palette. And friends, this palette is absolutely interesting. You can come up with beautiful earthy mixes with a pop surprise of those granulations and bright colors that you can come up with through your different mixtures, and I'm so happy to actually use it in this portrait. At first, I was a bit hesitant and just trying to mix between the 3 earth colors, and I had to break that mindset, and I told myself, you know what, let's embrace the bright colors and the granulation with this portrait. It has now different unique mixes that you can come up with, and once each layer dries, you can see here some granulations, and that's just so nice to look at. And surprisingly, this palette can actually come up with very deep values because of the inclusion of that transparent asphalt brown. So I'm just trying to get myself familiar with the different mixes, and change is fun, something that breaks the habit of something that you're too used to. And I'm just so looking forward to trying out different palettes, and that's the advantage of using temporary palettes like this plastic palette that I'm using. It allows you to explore different mixes and different primaries that you would not normally go for. So friends, that's the video. I hope you enjoyed or learned something from it, maybe get you to try to mix different colors that you don't normally go for, and try to tweak what you are used to when it comes to the different primaries that you have. I hope that you're all staying safe, and I hope that you enjoy the rest of your day, your week, your month, your year, and as always, peace.